Well, hello, my beautiful friends. How are y'all doing? I hope everybody is doing well. Happy Thursday to everyone. Hang on while I get my glasses on so I can read names and stuff. Hello, hello, my friends. Oh, hold on a second. Not having a good day here, guys. My live's going to be not very long. We're going to talk about what we need to and do everything we need to. But I just gashed my kneecap open just a little while ago, and I need to go get stitches put in. But for now, I got it closed together with big band-aids. But the top of it continues to bleed. So, anyways, we're going to make this work. I want to get this done, and I just hit it again. Anyways, welcome. Thank you all for being here. We got Miss Jean in the house today. She says, looking forward to this. I believe we may finally get some pertinent information. Miss Jean, I hope so. I hope it'll be just one more possibility that can be looked into for sure. Thank you for being here. Hello, TJ. Hello, Lori. Hi, Kathy Bartholomew. Thank you for being here. Hello, Teresa. TJ, cool gamer, how you doing? Hey, Brown Eyed Girls. Brenda Sue. Hey, Detroit Rock City. Charlene McPike, how are you? Hi, Holly. Let's see, Brenda Sue, did I say hi to you? I can't remember. Hello to you. Unheard voices with blue eyes. Jules, is that our blue eyes? Hi, Patty. Elaine, how are you? Inga. Hey, Chit Chat. Hi, Donna and Laura W. How are you doing? Cinderella. Neuro, how are you? Tina Girl, Poppy Love, Cinderella, and Miss Cheryl. Hello to everybody. Thank y'all for being here. Really appreciate y'all so much. Okay, so let's get started here. Today's video is called The Ark, Pennsylvania. When I started looking into the Texas Roadhouse video, going over it, very, very good. I come across Yellow Jacket Guy, started digging into him, found him to be possibly Richard Bishop, who is a real estate lawyer out of Pennsylvania. And he also serves on the board for the Ark of Pennsylvania. Before we start talking, and I give you this story that I need to tell, we need to all go back and refresh our mind. I cut my knee open and didn't get a chance to finish my stuff that I needed to look into to find where Katie said, who knows, when he's 18, he may come walking back in the door. I didn't get to find that. But hopefully some of you will remember. I am going to play where Seth tells us, and we learn for the first time about Katie and Chris wanting to put Sebastian into a facility. We had heard that there was an email from Seth that if Seth didn't pipe down, basically he was going to be exposed, because this email was given to Cluminati and to Crabtree. Okay. It was an email from Seth with other schools, with schools listed. So it was intended to look like Seth was the one looking into it. So Seth is going to tell us how that all came about. This is from the Lore Lodge. I have not got to put the link in the description of the video yet, but I will. If one of my mods can please drop their link, I will put up the banner to have copyright use of this. We will go over that. Listen to this portion where they get it all straightened out. After that, we're going to talk about a facility, but we need to go back to where we first heard about putting Sebastian into a facility. So let's see, here we go. All right, guys, here we go.
On that case as well, the custody battle that's going on there. And I'm happy that for the most part, it has not gone in any way in Chris's favor. But I think that that's an important thing. And this is another thing that part of the reason it frustrates me, there's all these rumors going around about you, Seth. Meanwhile, there is an entry in the New Mexico court record saying that Chris Proudfoot needs to take parenting classes, conflict resolution classes, I think 24 and 12 hours. And he took them. He tried to fight it, but they forced him to take them. So I think like when we're sitting here tossing out rumors, and, he said, she said from 10 years ago. Meanwhile, just in the last couple of years, one of the people who lived in this house with Sebastian was told he had to take parenting classes if he wanted to see his daughter. That is extremely relevant. That is, especially when you can, let me get to the bottom of this one. Seth, when did the conversations about Sebastian coming to live with you begin?
2023.
Okay. With fall 2023, maybe.
Okay. This is where all that begins. I wanted to just throw in that first part only because the man who was told to have over 24 hours worth of parenting classes is the man we're supposed to believe that wrote the parenting plan for two different people, two different divorces. Lord help us. Here's where Seth begins to talk, okay?
(2022), Seth.
Was it 2022?
Was it 2022?
Yeah.
They wanted to come live with me. I'm all down for my son to come live with me.
Were you going to be sending him to any kind of, there was some talk that you guys were planning to send him to some kind of facility to spend some time there?
That wasn't until later.
Okay.
They wanted him to come live with me. I couldn't get him enrolled in online school. And as everybody knows, I work 12-hour shifts at night. that doesn't allow me to get back here in time to make sure that he's up and ready for school.
Right.
So my idea was Clarksville, Tennessee has an online school system.
Mm-hmm.
So that way the child can stay at home
Right.
and do his online classes. And he was supposed to be getting ABA therapy, and they were going to be doing in-home therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it was easier if I could just get him into the online classes.
Okay.
I watched during COVID-19, he excelled in the online classes. So I wanted to set him up for success, not for failure.
Mm-hmm.
And while he was doing the ABA until we got him where he needed to be up here.
Mm-hmm.
And then by then I could have changed and done other things so that he would have been going to school.
Online school or in-person school?
In-person school.
Okay. So what is ABA therapy?
It's therapy for autistic children.
Okay. So the plan was, as I'm understanding it currently, that Sebastian was going to remain with the Proudfoots until he completed this therapy program.
No, he was staying with the Proudfoots until the end of the last school year, and then he would have been coming to stay with me.
Okay, so at no point was he being sent to any kind of boarding facility or anything like that.
They brought that up to me, that they were over his behavior, and they were looking into sending him to a place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Katie and Chris, mind you, were over Sebastian's behavior, and they were going to send him to a facility. Listen close to the rest of this. Hold on, Neuro.
And
Hold on.
it was like, well, how long are you talking about? Is this going to be like summer program? You know, is he going to go for a couple months during the summer? You know, what are we talking about? And they were like, no, they were talking about in a live-in facility.
Mm-hmm.
A live-in facility, not just a summer program, not just an after-school program, not just something to help him to cope with going to school and any issues he might be having. This is a permanent facility for him to go and live, is what they were looking into.
Now, Aiden, were you asking what ABA meant as in the acronym?
I mean, yeah, I'm yeah.
I mean, it's applied behavioral analysis is what it stands for.
Gotcha. So basically they were going to sit him down and work with him to get him up to speed so that he was in a position where he could go to public school, private school maybe, and fit in.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's the help with the socialization part.
Right. Makes sense. I mean, and that would have been alongside everything else, I take it. That wouldn't have been any kind of special inpatient facility. That would have just been something he did.
It would have been something he did, but where he was going to get it, they have a headquarters here in Clarksville.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have been in home. They would have came to the house, and they had been working with him for an hour or two every day.
Gotcha. So as I'm understanding, it was Chris and Katie's idea to have Sebastian go live at a kind of a live-in facility. And then you said, well, why doesn't he just come live with me?
Get up.
He was already supposed to come live with me.
Okay.
But because I was the weight.
Okay, guys, it gets a little complicated at this point. Seth's trying to get it all laid out perfectly, but stay with him, listen to what he's saying, because it will all come together and make sense here in just a few minutes.
Wait list to get into online education here in Clarksville, the 6-month waiting list.
Gotcha.
All right. So when I say he disappeared, I already had him enrolled here in Clarksville.
Gotcha.
to begin the next school year, because that's how long. I mean, I hadn't even enrolled. What?
Aiden, there was
December?
a report filed right before they decided that they didn't want to wait till May to get rid of him.
Mhm.
So there was a
Was
report
a
filed.
CPS report?
Correct.
This is the one where Chris hit him with a belt, correct?
I'm not sure if that's the one, but there was one filed right before they started firing off, emails to Seth that they were going to put him, basically send him off to one of these behavioral centers. So, it appeared to me, in my opinion, to be a retaliation for that report getting filed, that they weren't going to wait, 4 or 5 more months. They were going to go ahead and send him off, November, December.
All right. So just let me try and recap a little bit here, just for our sake and for the audience, to make sure we're all on the same page. The process here is that Chris and Katie say they are fed up with some sort of behavior from Sebastian. Was he just being rambunctious? Was this related to the thing Chris threatened you with?
Well, we can't get into all the family counseling reports,
Yeah.
but I can tell you in jest.
It was the abuse that he was suffering there.
Okay.
Yes. And he was having problems at school. Again, he just lived a different life over there, right? I mean,
Love you, Bo.
the 15-year-old child was wearing diapers, and it caused a lot of mental issues. I mean, this kid comes to live with his father, and there are no diapers, there are no accidents.
And that's what I was going to ask is, Seth, did he need these diapers?
Not in my house.
So Chris and Katie put them in these diapers. Did they have a reason? Did they explain this to you?
He was having accidents. At one point in time, Chris was upset that I had sent him back to the house, not in a diaper, in actual underwear. And at another point in time, Chris got upset, so he gave me all of his underwear.
So Sebastian never needed diapers at your place, but
no.
Okay. So just get back to my recap here. So Chris and Katie approach you. They say, Sebastian, we can't take this behavior anymore. It's not working out at our house. We want to put him in a facility. And then, or they wanted to go live with you.
That was a phone call.
Okay. So what was the first thing, facility, or was the first thing go live with you?
First thing was come live with me.
Okay. So they approach you, they call you, they say, we can't take it anymore. We want Sebastian to come live with you. You say, well, right now my schedule.
They weren't at their quote unquote wits end.
Mm-hmm.
I was approached differently. I was approached on the basis of, hey, do you want what do you think about Sebastian coming to live with you?
Mm-hmm.
Said they.
Did it seem like this was Chris's idea, Katie's idea, or Rick's idea? Yeah.
Before the information that I have now,
mm-hmm.
It was coming from Chris.
Okay.
The information that I have now,
it was a joint venture.
All right.
We're really quickly and at this time.
So at first it was coming from Chris. The information they have now, after receiving the CPS reports, it seems to be a joint venture, a joint decision. We know for a fact not all of the CPS cases were against Mr. Chris. Some were. Some of the others was against the other person living in the home, which would be his mother. Okay, guys, we got a little bit more to go. Let's make it through this because this is pertinent to what we're going to be talking about.
Had the questions or the idea of putting him in online classes, had that already Had the ball already started rolling, or was that after that happened?
Working on that from the year before because they were like, hey, can't get him in now, but what you have to do is on this date, you need to call up, you need to go ahead and apply. So I was just waiting for time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was waiting on dates so I could get applications put in. And then
this was after they suggested he go live with you.
No, before.
yes,
Wait.
That's what I was clarifying.
Okay, yeah, because
Yeah,
that is my question.
They were approached Seth. They asked Seth, hey, can Sebastian come live with you? Seth, to my understanding, you say, I would love to have him, but with my work schedule right now, I can't be home at the times I need to be home. Can you hang on to him for a year so I can get my schedule together?
Well, he was already in school.
Yeah.
And pulling him out of school is not. I didn't want to do any more detrimental. He was already in school. He needs to stay in school until the end of that. All right.
So you felt it was best for Sebastian if he remained in that school, in that, not knowing necessarily everything you know now, but in that school, in that home, until you were able to get to a point where you could get him into online school and then adjust your schedule so that you could be home with him at the proper times.
Correct.
Okay. That's
Now, what happened in between that and the next school year was supposedly Sebastian got back on track and they didn't have a problem with him going to Beach High School.
okay.
Conveniently, things got back on track. And they didn't have a problem with him anymore. So everything was okay. But things do change.
Now, school year begins. He's there. Stuff gets worse at the house, and it's affecting his behavior. I'm still waiting. I've already done everything I'm supposed to do. So now I'm waiting on the school system here to give me that acknowledgement that he's going to be into the online school. And all of a sudden, we want to send him into a facility, a program thing.
Okay.
And when they sent me that information, I was like, you're not going to send it. This place is, kids have died here. You're not going to send my son to any place where kids have died and have been abused.
Right.
Not knowing what's going on in that house as it was.
Right.
So when they approached me with that, I contacted a enrollment lady that dealt.
So when Seth found out there was a facility they were looking into sending Sebastian to school and found out kids had died at this facility, he was like, no way. And they told Seth, then you find someone or someplace to put him. Seth found someone to help him look into things. Listen to how detailed Seth wanted this place to be.
Dealt with a whole bunch of facilities for special needs and autistic children. And when I contacted her, I was like, listen, if they're going to do this, there needs to be animals there. There needs to be a good structure there. And it needs to be beneficial for Sebastian, not some facility. It needs to have actual hands-on with what's going on. And she sent me the list, and I forwarded it to Katie. And I never heard back.
Okay. So, and excuse me for rehashing this so many times. I just want to make sure that we really have the series of events nailed down. So 2022, they approach you about Sebastian coming to live with you, correct?
Yes.
You say that you need some time to get everything in order so that he can go to online school and that you can properly take care of him.
They contacted me. I said yes. And the next thing I did was contact the school. The school's what told me that I'd be able to apply on these dates. And I let them know that.
Okay. So Proudfoots come to you. They say, we want Sebastian to move in
I
with
agree,
you.
Holly.
You go to the school. You say, okay. You go to the school. The school tells you there's a 6-month wait list. You then go tell the Proudfoots that there's a 6-month wait list. And because of your work schedule, you can't be home with Sebastian at the proper times.
Because I'm like, well, it takes me an hour or so to get home.
Mm-hmm.
If he's got to be at school at 7, I get off at 7.
Right.
It takes me 8:30 for me to get home, depending on traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, then my son's late to school. That's detrimental to his learning program.
Right. So was it after? So what happened next? After you find out that it's going to take some time for him to get into online schooling, what was the communication with Chris and Katie from there?
I let him know, and then all of a sudden they're talking about sending to a facility and everything.
Gotcha. So it sounds like they didn't want to wait. So when was the facility conversation? Was that 2023?
Yes.
That's 2023. And then you are getting him enrolled. He's good to go.
That was December. That was December, I think. November or December of 2023.
November.
It was November.
Okay. It was right before he went missing.
Which is interesting because that's about the same time that Chris started trying to get custody of Faith again.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, very well know.
Yes.
I think factors into this.
Well, then just locking down the dates. So the first time it comes up was 2022. You start going through that process, and then that's what you mentioned earlier, where after like a month or two, however long it was, things kind of died down from them because essentially things got better in their house. Things went back to business as usual, and then a year later is when they came back up. They started talking about the facility, things like that. Just want to make sure that we've got that timeline right.
Yeah. And Seth didn't know this, but they start talking to him in 2022 about Sebastian coming to live with him.
Mm-hmm.
First CPS report was filed on or around the same time in 2022.
Okay, so the implication there would be that this conversation happened because a CPS officer or agent visited the house.
Correct.
Okay, so
we have a very detailed timeline.
Yeah,
that's been created that shows cause and effect from the CPS reports
mm-hmm.
to the behavior and the family counseling reports,
mm-hmm.
and it's a very compelling story, to say the least.
All right, guys, let me get this off of here. Hang tight. Now, as a review, let me put my camera on for a minute here. As a review, we've got November of 2022. Katie and Chris are like talking to Seth. Sebastian needs to come live with you. We can't handle him. Done with him, basically. Seth says, okay, let me start checking into online schooling so that he can not have to enter a school for just a couple of months. Trying to keep everything good. And for Sebastian, what's best. So then things get better. So, okay, it's good. Let him stay. We're all good. And then November of 2023, things are getting bad again. They can't handle Sebastian anymore. They're going to put him into a facility. That's when Seth looked into the place. It was not a good place, has a very bad reputation. And all you got to do is Google it to find that out. But they didn't care. They had to get him out of their home. So then Seth has someone look into things for him. Found several different places. And then it was decided the expense was too much. We're just going to wait it out until May At the end of school, he's coming to live with you. Perfect. Seth was ready. That's what we're going to do. That's how this is going to work out. Just a few weeks later, when that decision was made, folks, Sebastian's missing. As Tony was saying, there's a timeline laid out here. Since Seth has gotten those CPS reports, the very first mention of Sebastian going to Seth's home began in November of 2022 with the first CPS report in their home where they live. When things got better, there was no CPS report happening. The end of November, December-ish of 2023, there's more CPS. We know that the 1st of February, end of January, first part of February, right in that timeline, there was another CPS report. And that's when they're talking about putting into a facility, and Seth is like, whoa, let's make sure it's the right one. Then it's going to be, he's going to live with you. Then Sebastian's gone. I say this and I play this so that we can all be reminded of this timeline of events, because Sebastian is missing. There is no visual of him leaving his home. No one personally with their own eyeballs saw him running away from his house. No one on their Ring camera video footage has seen Sebastian leaving his house. There is no dog scent of him walking off of his property. And I don't care what Mr. Chris has to say, the law enforcement has said no dog scent was found leaving that property. That says to anyone with common sense that there is no evidence that that child left on his own. Therefore, he had to be taken out of that house. He was not physically touching the ground as he is leaving his home. We see the 3 a.m. flashlights. We've heard the possibility of this exchange at the BP before he made it home from Texas Roadhouse. There are so many options here of him possibly being away from his home. We talked about Yellow Jacket Guy, and I'm going to share a picture with you here just to refresh everyone's memory that the picture Katie took of Sebastian at Texas Roadhouse is very, very similar, almost identical to the picture that the man in the yellow jacket has. Picture 1 on the top right is the picture that the yellow jacket guy has on the phone he's holding at the takeout window. Picture 2 on the left is Katie's phone sitting at that table after she took his picture. You see them side by side. It's the same picture, folks. Why would Katie need to send a picture or possibly hand off that phone in her hand to the man in the yellow coat? That is a huge question. I look into him and I find things. Let me show you this one so that we can all be on the same page here and see what I'm seeing, where my mind's going with all this. Let's see. Let me get this going here. This is the short video we're going to see of Katie taking the picture, okay? It's only like 2 minutes, 29 seconds, but here it is as it's being played out. He's sitting there. She's going to take a picture. There's that picture. Do you see what she's got in front of her there? She's looking at it real close. And then she's going to take another one while he was eating. So there we have Katie taking the picture that the man in the yellow coat has on the phone he has in his hand. Folks, I looked into Richard Bishop. Richard Bishop is a real estate lawyer in Pennsylvania. There's a facility called the ARC of Pennsylvania. It's a facility for those who are intellectually challenged, with disabilities and such. Okay. Now, I thought that was strange enough. Yesterday, I told y'all how Penhurst Asylum was a facility that was in operation for many, 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 many years. It was closed due to the bad treatment of patients. They did lobotomies there. They did experimental things to try to help people, they thought, but it was actually very inhumane. So at the time there in Pennsylvania, there was no facility. This ARC was created just after Penhurst. I've looked into it a good bit, thought possibly, could it possibly be that Sebastian was taken to a facility like this? Then I talked with a friend that listens to us. I won't name her name. But my friend tells me about a young man and her family who is a teenage boy who is having some issues. He was sent to a facility that is with the ARC. They have them all over the place. There's one at the border of Tennessee and Kentucky as well. Mr. Bishop, the yellow jacket guy that I believe to be Mr. Bishop, is a board member at one of those facilities. So I thought, oh my goodness, okay. She said, I have some things I need to tell you. This young man, and folks, listen real close, because this will surprise you. This young man will call my friend. It comes up as different each time. It's not the same. It's not the ARC. This young man's father has joint custody, just like Seth has of his son, Sebastian. This young man has insurance through his father. However, it is billed as a clinic. This young man's father has no idea where his son is. When checked into, it was told this young man's father would have to go through the United States Attorney General to be able to get information on this young man in this facility. Even more so, he was to enter the facility with no shoes on. They are not allowed to have shoestrings. They are given slides to wear. When I found out, I was mind blown, because being that Seth has joint custody, he should know where his son is. Being that CPS was called to the home where his son lived, it was put out to them that the father had nothing to do with him, was not involved in his life. CPS was fooled. So could a facility. There is a code number that the person that can contact, or this young man can contact, has a code number. And it is only after that number is put in that there can be conversation made. At the time a person is in the facility, put in there, the person putting this child in can give permission to only certain people. This young man's siblings do not know where he is. This young man's father, aunts, uncles, cousins do not know where he is. Folks, it is possible for Sebastian to have been taken, passed along until he was put into a facility. And folks, when I tell you this, I said it yesterday, I'll say it all the time, over and over and over again, but you look at the difference between these two grieving parents and tell me which one knows where their child is and which one does not. Is it possible that Katie might miss her son because she's not seeing him? Is it possible that the vacations they go on, she does get to stop by and visit with him? Is it possible that they have phone conversations with him? Is it possible that Seth Rogers, Sebastian Wayne Drake's father, has had no contact because his mother chose to not allow that? Folks, it is possible. After what I heard, after what I now know that is happening with a real family, someone that I can relate and hear this story. It's not something I read on Google. It is not something that anybody's going to tell me from the facility, because they will never say he's there or not, because they've all signed NDAs. They will not, due to HIPAA, give out any information. So yes, friends, when I sit here and tell you it is possible for Sebastian to be put into a facility, we saw Katie take a picture of him sitting in a booth right across from her. The man in the yellow jacket, who is, I believe, Richard Bishop, is a board of directors at a facility that would need a picture ID of this young man, had that picture in his hands at Texas Roadhouse. Is it possible? Yes. Is that what happened? I can't say. I don't know. All I know is there is a father that has no clue where his son is worried to death about his son. And he doesn't even realize his insurance is paying for his son to be in that facility. And he can have no contact. He would have to go through the United States Attorney General to get that information. Folks, I would like to think that Sebastian is still with us, alive and doing well, but I'm afraid if he is in a facility like that, I could just imagine what his life could be like right now. And I'm telling you, if it comes down to something like this, that he was put in a home, no excuse that Katie and Chris can give will ever get them out of it. The tax dollars that has been used to search for Sebastian will hang their ass for the rest of their lives. Folks, I don't know if this is Sebastian's story, okay? Please make that very clear. I have no clue if this is his story, but I will tell you this is a very real possibility. I never thought so. I always thought there would be some way that his father would have had to know, until I heard my friend tell me the story. I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. She cannot tell any family member that she knows where he is. And it hurts her heart. This is something that is so serious that people are allowed to do this with their children and keep out the other parent. And we know that Katie and Chris have done this before because they did that with the CPS reports. We know that. That's a fact. Folks, I really, really, really hate to end this, but I need to get this bandage off my knee and see if it is trying to close up any at all, which I have a feeling it's not because it's almost down to the bone. So I probably need to go get stitches, but I wanted to put this out there, guys. I wanted y'all to hear this. Go look for yourselves. Pull up the facility. The name of it is on the title of this thumbnail, the ARC, Pennsylvania. Probably wouldn't be a bad thing if we all print out a flyer and mail it. Mail it into them. Let them see Sebastian's missing and people are looking for him. Will it help? I don't know. But maybe it'll give somebody something to really think about. Possibly neuro. I don't know exactly what they're doing there. It is, funded by families. It is donations, that kind of thing. It is very, very, very privated. Yeah, send in flyers. They're all over. They're not in just Pennsylvania. Like I said, there's one right at the border of Tennessee and Kentucky. There's one in Chicago. There's several all around. But for a board member to live in Pennsylvania and be at the Texas Roadhouse, just a few miles away from where Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers was last seen alive, and end up with a phone that has a picture on it that his mother can't share with us? Is that because she doesn't have that? Is that why we don't get to see that picture? Because he handed that phone off? Folks, Katie and Sebastian were sitting at that table. You can see the yellow raincoat guy walk in, walk down the middle aisle, and go back out. He's going out the front door, but he never exits for 1 minute and 44 seconds after he went into that doorway. When he does come onto the camera from the outside, seen opening the door, Katie and Sebastian are directly behind him. There could have been a here you go kind of thing. I'm telling you, too many of these pieces can start fitting together, and it could be a very big possibility. And it blew my mind when I heard all the details of this one young man that is actually going through this, and his father and all of his family. Only 3 people know the truth. And if they say anything, they lose access to this young man. They're not going to do that. And we know Katie and Chris has made it out to the CPS that his father was not in his life. Therefore, Seth was never, ever notified. I don't know where Sebastian is. I don't know what actually has happened to him. But I know this. He has a father who is beside himself with grief, trying to find his son. And we have a mother who seems to know exactly what happened. And she goes on to live her life, going on vacations and, all the things. After learning what I learned, it actually would make sense. So, guys, I really need to get this knee checked out. I could feel my heart beating in my kneecap. So I'm going to let y'all go. Take care of this. Sorry, I got to cut it so short. But I've given y'all the information I know. There is a possibility. Let's do what we can. Send a flyer to any of those places you know of. And let's see what we can do to find Sebastian. He deserves to be found. So, okay, guys. Love and hugs. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll let y'all know if I get stitches or not. Love you all. Bye.